Welcome back everybody to another episode of Can a Truck Driver Cook? On this installment we will be celebrating arguably the most famous couple of all time. Is it Kurt and Goldie? No? How about the odd couple, Felix and Oscar? Again, no. I'm talking about a food couple here. Well, maybe it's the classic, a burger and fries. Nope, wrong again. Spaghetti and meatballs? Not even close. How about mac and cheese? Truly high on the list, but once again, that's not it. Well, peanut butter and jelly. It must be PB&J, right? We're getting close, but still no cigar. Ladies and gentlemen, may I humbly submit a true classic since 1928. It's the item your parents always snagged out of your trick-or-treat bag while they were checking the contents for razor blades. Good excuse, Mom. Yes, it's the one, the only, greatest couple of all time, peanut butter and chocolate, specifically Reese's Cups. Let me show you a little history on how the Reese's Cup came about.
Man, this chocolate bar is delicious.
Oh yeah, I love peanut butter.
I'm Officer Reese's. What happened here?
You got peanut butter on my chocolate. He got chocolate in my peanut butter.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is the actual history of how Reese's Cups came about. And if you believe that, I've got some oceanfront property in Arizona for you. Today we're going to be lifting the humble Reese's Cup to lofty new heights with this dessert called the Double Reese's Cheesecake. And if you really want to knock people's socks off at a party or a family get-together, just one look at this delicious dessert will do it. So enough talking. Let's get over to the kitchen and make a double Reese's cheesecake. Okay, let's go ahead and get started on our decadent double Reese's cheesecake. The first thing we're going to need is a crust. And are we going to use graham crackers? No. What we're going to need first is 20 Nutter Butters. I mean, why have a plain Jane graham cracker crust when we can use more peanut butter for the crust? So we're going to need 20 of those. I have 25 here because unfortunately this recipe, the one you'll see in the description down below as always, is for an 8-inch springform pan. So I only have a 9. I thought I had an 8 somewhere, but I can't find it. So I'm going to go with 25, but if you have an 8-inch, 20 will be fine. Next up, well, we got to have Reese's Cups, don't we? We're going to need about 22 of those divided in two. There's actually going to be, Reese's Cups are actually going to be part of the crust also. Next up, we're going to need a cup of peanut butter, 3/4 cup of sugar, 3 8-ounce packages of cream cheese, 6 tablespoons of butter, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 3 eggs, and this recipe calls for 1/4 cup of sour cream. And I thought I had picked some up, but I didn't. So the recipe is going to call for sour cream. I would suggest you use that, but I'm going to try using plain yogurt. It should give me the same type of tang that I would get from the sour cream. And since it's such a small amount for a recipe this size, I don't think it will change anything, but hey, we're finding out if a truck driver can cook, right? So we'll find out what it does to the recipe. And last but not least, we need some Reese's Pieces on the top for a garnish. So I think that's about it for our ingredients. Let's go ahead and heat the oven to 350 degrees, get that warmed up. Then what we want to do is take our 8-inch, aka 9-inch, springform pan, put 2 layers of aluminum foil around it and a piece of parchment in the bottom. You shouldn't have to worry about any on the sides because it's a springform pan. If you do use one that's not springform, I would suggest that you cut out a strip and line the inside with parchment too. If it sticks up a little bit, that's okay. As with all cheesecakes, this is going to go in a bain-marie or a water bath. And that's a really important step because cheesecake is basically a thick custard And if it gets too hot and it's not in a moist environment, the top of it can crack, it can form big curds in it, give you kind of a grainy texture to it. So you definitely want to use a bain-marie for this. So I think that's all the preliminaries and the ingredients. Let's go ahead and get started with our crust. There we go. We got our 20 or 25 in this case because of the size of the pan Nutter butters into a food processor, and we're going to pulse that until they're kind of a large crumb. Okay, that's looking a bit better. After we got our Nutter butter crumbs there, we're going to take 6 tablespoons of butter, put that in, and pulse it a few more times. And there we go. That's what you want to see right there, so it holds together into a crust. When that bakes in the oven, that should hold together pretty nicely. So that's about it for the crust. We can go ahead and dump this out into the springform pan, get it pressed out. We'll start on our next step. Okay, there I have my crust all flattened out in the bottom of the springform pan. And it looks like it's ready to go. I like to press this a little bit up the sides. I kind of like that look on the cheesecake where the crust kind of comes part way up the sides of it. Now what we're going to do is layer the bottom with Reese's cups. Yes, that's right. This crust is going to have Nutter butter and Reese's for the crust. Now, depending on the size Reese's cup that you get, the recipe calls for, I believe, full-size Reese's cups. So if you have smaller ones, or you could even use the miniatures here, it shouldn't be a problem because it's all going to be covered under cheesecake anyhow. So let's go ahead and see how many it takes. "13 of this size, and it looks like we can fit one more right in there. Okay, looks good. Now let's get our cheesecake batter together. I've got 3 8-ounce packages of cream cheese. I'm going to take that along with 3/4 cup of sugar, and we're going to mix this until it's really, really fluffy. Looking pretty good right there. Let's go ahead and scrape the sides down a bit. Now we're going to add our 1/4 cup of sour cream, in this case yogurt, because that's all I had. I would suggest you probably stick to the recipe and use the sour cream if you have it. We'll find out how this turns out. 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. 1 cup of peanut butter. Now let's mix all that together until it's combined. That's looking pretty good right there. Let's go ahead and start putting our eggs in one at a time. And when that looks like it's thoroughly combined, go ahead and add the second and third. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and scrape down the sides another time, and we're going to get that really mixed in. Everything nice and smooth. Now that we have our batter finished, let's go ahead and put it on top of our crust and Reese's cups. Okay, get it all nice and spread out there now. Let's try to get this top nice and flat. Looks pretty good. Now we're ready for the water bath. I would suggest that you do this step in the oven, put the roasting pan in there, put your cheesecake in it, and then take your hot water and pour it right down the side till it comes about halfway up. I'll show you here, and I'm going to do it inside the stove also. There's our cheesecake, and I can pour a little bit of it in right now. You really don't want to get any on the cheesecake. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in there, set the timer for about 50 minutes, come back and check it. And once I feel it's done, I'll let you know how long mine took. Okay, it's been about an hour. Once this thing is done, you're supposed to just crack the door of the oven, turn off the heat, and let it go about another hour. But since I can't shoot into the oven too well, I decided to bring it out and take a look at it here. Now, there's several ways to go about testing it. What I like to do really, if you're not doing a New York style cheesecake and not going to be putting on all the toppings, yeah, you might not want no holes in it, but I usually shoot for somewhere around 150 degrees in the center of that. Yeah, I've got some holes in the top of it, but we're going to be covering it with chocolate sauce and Reese's Pieces and everything else. So, you know, you can use the spoon on the side. The temperature is really the most accurate, or you can just do this, and you can see that it's just barely shaking in the center. That's pretty good right there. So let's get this back into the oven, crack the door, turn it off, and check back on it in about an hour. After about an hour, this is what we've got. I'm pretty pleased with it overall. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cover this with plastic wrap, and we need to refrigerate it for at least 5 hours. I'm going to leave it overnight. Then tomorrow we can come back, get the springform pan off of it, drizzle it with our chocolate and peanut butter, put the halved Reese's cups all the way around the edge, and then sprinkle with the Reese's Pieces, and it should be done. That's about it. So let's go ahead and get it wrapped, get it in the refrigerator, and we'll check back on it tomorrow. Good morning everybody. Well, our cheesecake's been in the refrigerator for about 8 hours. Now it's time to get it out of the springform pan. I'm going to take a hot rag here that I've had soaking in hot water, and we're just going to put it right around there and just kind of hold it for a couple minutes. That might help warm the edge up just enough so that when we let the springform pan go, it'll probably pop right out of there. Okay, I think that's been long enough. I'm going to try to loosen the pan here very slowly. I may need to help it out a little bit. I definitely don't want to pull any chunks off the side of the cheesecake. Overall, that looks pretty good. I like the way that the Nutter Butter crust comes about halfway up the side of there. Kind of gives it another layer to the look of it. Now what I want to do next is take about a 1/4 cup of chocolate chips. You can use Hershey's chocolate syrup here or whatever you have around. I'm going to melt these in the microwave a little bit, and I've got about a 1/4 cup of peanut butter here too. This is what we're going to use for our decorations. And then we're going to put our Reese's cups around the edge of it, and that should be about it for it. Okay, we got our chocolate melted. Let's go ahead and start with it. I'm going to go one direction with the chocolate. Probably could have done a little bit better job than that, but yeah, it looks pretty good. Now let's go the other way with the peanut butter. I gotta say that looks pretty darn good. I put a ring of melted chocolate around the outside edge just to try to hold these Reese's cups in place. And we're gonna start just going all the way around with those. Boy, look at that. I don't think you could ask better for that fitting. I didn't know if I'd have to cut one or not to make it fit. Well, there you go. Take a look at that. Isn't that pretty? That will definitely be the hit of the show. You take that to a party. Okay, I want those peanut butter cups to set up and that chocolate to set up a bit too, so I'm gonna go ahead, pop it back in the refrigerator for probably about another hour. Then we'll be able to cut into it and give it a taste. A very small taste. You definitely don't need a lot of this. Okay, see you in about an hour. Well, I believe it's pretty well set up right now, so I think it's time we cut it. I usually like to take a knife that I've had soaking in hot water, wipe it off. It usually makes it nicer to cut. Get a cleaner slice that way. And we'll give it another dip, wipe it off again. And there we have it. You can see the Reese's cups is part of the crust. The Nutter Butter feels really good, like it's set up okay. But how does it taste since we made that substitution of yogurt for sour cream? Well, let's find out. Okay, here goes nothing. Get a piece of the crust, the Reese's cup, a little bit of everything. Oh. Okay. Okay. Can we talk here? If you're a person that doesn't like peanut butter and you encounter one of these in the wild, I would suggest you make the sign as a cross over it, sprinkle it with holy water, drive a stake through its heart, and run as fast as you can in the other direction, because this is peanut butter on a completely other level. You really need to try this sometime if you're a peanut butter lover or a Reese's Cup lover. This is fantastic. So if you do decide to make it for yourself or for a family get-together, I'm sure it will completely wow them. And if you don't want to do that, you could always mail it to a third world country and feed a village of 500 for a week. But really, all kidding aside, I want to thank you once again for joining me. Hope to see you next time. Take care, be safe, and we'll see you next time on Check This Out.